Cardinal Daniels he was actually sidelined by JP2 and Benedict, but he was completely resuscitated and then some by Pope Francis, the same Pope Francis that immediately alienated Cardinal Burke and then has removed you from your diocese. Any comment for us on all of this?
Well, it's deeply saddening, tragic, really, for the individuals involved. And I think, as I've said many times, I really approach our faith from a simple truth clarity. These are horrible sins that we're talking about for any person, much less a successor of the apostles, a bishop of the church. And the tendency to ignore these sins, to ignore the truth, is just epidemic in the church and in the world. Sadly, as you're talking, it sounds very similar to what governments do, to just ignore, cover up, just pass it along, say, there's no there, all of this stuff. Sadly, there's very little distinction between the church and the state and how these corrupt systems are operating. Really, the question, as Liz was talking, that comes to mind for me is the question that I've continued to ask: do we really believe in Jesus Christ? Do we believe in what we're celebrating during this Holy Week? Do we believe that the betrayer, Judas Iscariot, did a terrible thing and really betrayed the Lord? Because that betrayal, in my own personal prayer this week, it really has hit me that the betrayal of our Lord Jesus Christ is ongoing. It's not just Judas Iscariot, but this whole scenario that y'all have just described is one more betrayal of what Christ died to free us from, sin and death. Instead, the leadership in the Vatican seems to be willing to ignore the sin and ignore the mortal death, the devastation, the condemnation that comes from ignoring these sins. John Henry, as you mentioned, ghost and haunting, those, are sad words to use for the man who sits in the chair of St. Peter, for Pope Francis. And as I've argued before, the greatest compassion that we can have for Pope Francis, for Jorge Bergoglio, a man, a cardinal of the church elected to be the Bishop of Rome, the greatest compassion we can have for him or for anyone else in the church is to bring the truth to bear and to ask Pope Francis and all of those who surround him, it's certainly not just him, but live the truth, embrace the truth of Christ. It doesn't change, no matter how much we may want it to in the 21st century. When the 22nd century rolls along, that truth will still be the truth. And the more people that have embraced it, the better the world will be. The more who have ignored it, the worse the world will be. It's our job to proclaim the kingdom,